The diplomat's mission Jankara stood on the edge of the landing ramp, her long purple cloak fluttering in the earth wind. She took her first breath of Earth's air, thicker, warmer, and full of strange scents. She frowned. This world felt different. She was a high-ranking diplomat of the Xerillian Empire. Her mission was simple: observe humans, report back, and decide if they were a threat or a potential ally. Most of her council believed humans were weak, primitive, loud, and emotional. But Jankara wanted to see for herself. A human officer approached her, tall and serious. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "Welcome to Earth," he said. "I'm Colonel Reese. I'll be your escort." Jankara gave a small nod. "Take me to your Central Intelligence Facility," she said in a firm voice. "I want to understand your military." Reese didn't argue. "Follow me." They traveled in a sleek black vehicle across long roads and through wide cities. Jankara watched the world pass by. Humans moved fast, always busy. Their cities were full of machines, but also full of music, laughter, and strange food smells. It was chaotic but alive. After hours of travel, they reached a desert. A metal gate opened and their vehicle descended underground into a hidden base. Jankara's eyes narrowed. "Why hide your military so deep?" Reese looked at her and simply said, "Because what's down here is not for public eyes." They stopped before a huge metal vault door. It hissed open. Bright lights lit up a large chamber full of machines, weapons, and people working silently. Soldiers stood in perfect rows. Drones hovered above. Massive screens displayed moving maps and blinking lights. But her eyes were drawn to one object in the center, a long gray cylinder pointing upward. It looked simple, harmless. Until Reese spoke. "This is a prototype plasma lance. It can cut a mountain in half in under 5 seconds. Jankara's breath caught. "That's impossible." Reese said nothing. Instead, he raised a finger. "Observe." The lights dimmed. A large screen came to life. A mountain appeared on the screen, far away in a barren wasteland. The weapon rotated slightly. Then, without sound, a blinding beam of light shot into the screen. The mountain vanished. Jankara's body tensed. Her fingers trembled. "You destroyed it completely." Reese looked at her with a calm expression. "Yes, but that was only the minimum setting." The silence in the room was thick. Jankara stepped back, feeling her heart race. She had seen weapons before. Her empire had destroyed planets. But this was different. "Why build such weapons?" she asked. Reese looked her in the eyes. "We don't build weapons to use them. We build them so we don't have to." She didn't understand. "You mean, you avoid war?" "Yes," he said. "Because if we go to war, we don't stop until the enemy is gone. We've done it before, and we don't like it." Jankara left the chamber quietly. Her mind was full of questions and fear. She had come to Earth thinking humans were just clever animals, noisy and emotional. But what she had seen today proved something else. Humans were patient, dangerous, and they didn't show their claws unless they were forced. As she walked through the underground hallways, she noticed something strange. There were no celebrations, no pride, no cheers. The humans who worked here weren't excited about their power. They were calm, silent, almost sad. Jankara whispered to herself, "They are not proud of their strength. They are afraid of it." And for the first time in her life, she felt the one emotion she never expected to feel on this world. Fear. The silent arsenal Jankara could not sleep. Her mind replayed the moment again and again, the mountain disappearing, the silence afterward, and the cold face of Colonel Reese. She had studied over 40 worlds in her diplomatic career, faced warrior tribes, shadow assassins, and even telepathic rulers. But nothing had shaken her like the human silence. In the morning, Reese was waiting for her with two black-suited agents. They didn't speak, just nodded. She followed them deeper into the Earth facility, farther below than she thought possible. The air grew cooler, the lights dimmer. "What is this place?" she asked, her voice echoing in the metal tunnel. Reese replied without turning around. "This is where we keep the things we hope to never use." The elevator door opened into a vault that stretched beyond her vision. Row after row of massive machines stood like sleeping giants. Some were marked with symbols she couldn't read. Others were sealed in protective glass, surrounded by warning signs. "Every major human nation has something stored down here," Reese said. "Weapons, tools, even failed experiments. Most of them are locked forever. Some only need one command to wake up." Jenkara paused in front of a strange weapon. It was small, shaped like a cube. "What does this one do?" Reese stared at it. "That is a nanite bomb. It doesn't explode. It spreads, eats everything, turns a city into dust in minutes." She stepped back in horror. "Why create such monsters?" Reese looked at her for a moment. "Because once, someone else tried to build them first." They walked past a long corridor of screens. One of them flickered on, showing footage of an ancient Earth war, tanks rolling through fire, drones swarming the sky, cities burning. But then the screen changed. Now it showed something more modern. A single human drone entering the atmosphere of a foreign planet. A silent flash. Then, nothing. The feed cut out. "What happened?" Jenkara asked. "The enemy base was gone," Reese said. "No warning, no survivors, no noise." Jenkara felt cold all over. "And your people call this peace?" Reese didn't answer. Instead, he walked up to a reinforced chamber door. He pressed his palm against a scanner, and the door hissed open. Inside, a long black cylinder floated in a magnetic field. "Is this another weapon?" "No," Reese said quietly. "This is a message." She looked at him confused. "If anyone gets close enough to Earth's orbit without permission, this launches. It doesn't destroy. It records. And it sends one message to the invader. Leave. You have one chance." Jenkara blinked. "Only one?" "We don't believe in second warnings." She sat in a briefing room later that evening, staring at a glowing map of the Milky Way. Dozens of red marks surrounded Earth's section of space. "These are all the species who once tested our patience," Reese explained. "Some wanted land, some wanted slaves, some just thought we were too soft." He paused. "They don't exist anymore." Jenkara clenched her jaw. "You destroyed them?" "No," Reese said slowly. "We erased the war. We ended it." "Before it began. Sometimes with weapons, sometimes with silence, but always, always, with finality." Back in her guest quarters, Jenkara sat alone in the dark. Her translator device buzzed softly. A message from her homeworld blinked on. "The screen, report, what have you learned?" She stared at it for a long time before replying. "Humans do not want war, not because they fear it, but because they no longer need it." She hesitated, then added one more line. "We should never provoke them." Just then, she noticed something outside the window. 3 young human soldiers walking across the courtyard, laughing, sharing snacks, carefree. They had no idea what power rested beneath their feet. They weren't afraid. They were normal. That frightened her more than anything. Power without pride. Strength without noise. Weapons that don't shout, but wait. Jenkara now understood the humans weren't silent because they were weak. They were silent because they were already sure. The underground vault Jenkara expected doors, lights, maybe guards. She did not expect an ancient cave sealed behind a holographic wall. Colonel Reese tapped a few commands on a strange round device. The wall shimmered, then melted into the floor. Cold air rushed out, the temperature dropped. Jenkara stepped inside and froze. This was no military room. This was a graveyard, but not of people, of weapons. Massive machines stood like stone statues, half covered in dust. They were too large to be moved, too dangerous to be destroyed. Each one had a nameplate, some scratched out, some blinking in red. Jenkara walked past a giant spider-like machine that had dozens of glowing red eyes. It looked dead, but somehow it felt awake. "What is this place?" she asked softly. Reese walked beside her, quiet. "These are the weapons we never used." She turned sharply. "Why keep them?" Reese shrugged. "To remind us what we're capable of, and to remind others what happens if they forget." They reached the center of the vault. A tall black tower stood alone, chained with thick energy cables. A label glowed across the front. Project Endlight. Jenkara's translator struggled with the word. "What does it do?" she asked. Reese answered, his voice low. "It's a solar eraser. Fires a controlled wave through a system sun. No light, no warmth. The star dies." She stared at him, horrified. "That's not a weapon. That's a god's tool." He didn't smile. "That's why we locked it away." Jenkara sat down on a cold bench near the edge of the chamber. Her body felt heavy. Everything she had learned in her life told her that diplomacy, talk, and strength in numbers were the way of the galaxy. But humans had chosen a different path. They didn't grow louder. They just built things so terrifying that silence became their loudest answer. She asked quietly, "Why hasn't your species taken over the galaxy?" Reese didn't sit. He stood with his hands behind his back. "Because we remember what it's like to lose. Every war we fought cost us dearly. We learned the cost of victory. So now, we only fight when we must." Jenkara was given a secure tablet. It had videos, reports, simulations. She opened one. A fleet of Xyrillian ships, her own empire's design, invading Earth in a test scenario. The result? 3 hours. All ships lost. Earth casualties, 0. She ran the simulation 3 more times, changed fleet patterns, altered the formation, added more ships. The outcome never changed. In the 4th attempt, the Earth weapons didn't even activate. The enemy ships exploded in space from something unseen. Stealth tech, remote sabotage, she couldn't tell. Jenkara's fingers trembled on the screen. "This isn't defense. This is extinction-level control." Reese spoke calmly behind her. "That's the point. If we fight, we finish it." She exited the vault in silence. Outside, a young human technician accidentally bumped into her. "Oh, sorry, ma'am," he said, smiling. Jenkara looked at him. "No weapons, no fear, just kindness. You built all that," she whispered. "And yet, you smile?" The boy blinked. "We don't like those things. We just hope they help. Keep the peace." She stared at him for a long time before walking away. That night, she sent a short encrypted message to the Xyrillian Council. "Do not test them." But she feared it was already too late. The simulation room, Jenkara thought. She had seen everything: the secret vault, the mountain killer weapon, the dead star device. She was wrong. Colonel Reese led her into a silent white corridor. No guards, no cameras, just one round metal door. It opened without a sound. Inside was a single chair in front of a large black screen. "This doesn't look like a control room," she said. Reese nodded. "It's not. It's a mirror." "A mirror? For you," he replied. "Sit. Let us show you who you're dealing with." She sat. The lights dimmed. A soft hum filled the air. Then the screen lit up, bright, detailed, alive. Stars shimmered. Fleets appeared. Massive cruisers, battleships, and carriers, her own Xyrillian fleet. Jenkara leaned forward. "This is our—" "Yes," Reese said. "We uploaded your empire's entire military database. Public and secret, it wasn't hard." Her heart skipped. "You hacked. We studied," he corrected calmly. "It's what we do best." The simulation began. The Xyrillian fleet jumped to Earth's orbit. No greetings, No warnings, just orders. Invade. Earth's skies lit up, but not with missiles, with silence. The enemy ships hovered, waiting for a response. Nothing came. Then suddenly, ships began to vanish. Not explode. Vanish. One by one. Her eyes widened. There are no weapons. Firing. Reese nodded. Correct. They were disabled from inside. Impossible. No. Human AI entered their systems before they even left Xyrillian space. The feed changed. Now, a Xyrillian ground team landed on Earth. They spread out. No resistance, no soldiers. Then, the ground moved. Entire forests were fake. Camouflage. Hiding cannons, drones, towers. One by one, her people were captured, no deaths. Just silence. In the next screen, a diplomat tried to contact Earth. A message played back. Return. You are not welcome. This was your only attempt. The transmission ended. So did the simulation. Jankara stared at the screen, her hands shaking. This is how your people think? No, Reese said, standing beside her. This is how we prepare. You attack us once, you'll never attack again. She looked up at him. But you didn't kill them in the simulation. We didn't have to, he said. The real enemy isn't ships or soldiers. It's the choice to fight in the first place. We take away that choice. Jankara stood and faced him. Why show me this? Reese's voice was steady. Because you needed to understand. Peace with Earth is not a request. It's a condition for survival. As she walked down the hallway, a young cadet ran past her, laughing with a friend. She stopped and watched. In the simulation, her fleets fell. Her soldiers lost. Her empire was helpless. And yet the humans laughed like children. How could such a terrifying species be so normal? That thought chilled her more than any weapon. She returned to her quarters and opened a private channel to the Xyrillian High Council. Her report began with a warning. The humans are not what we believed. They are not weak, they are not kind, they are capable of ending us, and they've already planned how. She hesitated. Then she added, do not mistake their silence for fear. It is confidence. The hidden war Jankara no longer looked at humans the same way. She had seen their weapons. She had watched their war simulations. She had read their history, but she still didn't understand how they always knew what their enemies would do. That question was answered the next morning. Colonel Reese met her at the base gates. This time, they didn't go underground. They went up. A sleek black aircraft flew silently across the clouds. Jankara sat beside Reese, her eyes locked on the screen in front of them. It showed a live map of the galaxy, blinking dots, coded messages and unknown symbols. What are these? Signals? She asked. Reese spoke without emotion. These are all alien communications intercepted, decoded, and monitored. Jankara's eyes narrowed. You spy on the galaxy? Reese looked at her. We listen. Carefully. The ship landed on a floating platform, hidden above the Earth, invisible to satellites. Inside, it looked nothing like a war room. It was quiet, clean, peaceful. A dozen human analysts sat before giant holograms. Some monitored alien languages. Others watched security feeds from planets Jankara had never even heard of. She stepped forward, stunned. You have people watching every major empire? Reese nodded. We learned early that war doesn't start with guns. It starts with whispers. He showed her a feed from a distant alien moon. Jankara's eyes widened. She recognized the council member standing there, her own. He was speaking to a representative of another empire, in secret, plotting something. Reese watched her. We didn't want to believe your people were preparing for conflict. But your councilman met with 5 enemies of Earth this year. That's not peace. Jankara was silent. I didn't know. Reese's voice was quiet but firm. We did. They walked into a side room. There, on a small table, lay an unmarked metal box. Reese opened it slowly. Inside was a simple black sphere, no larger than a human eye. "This," he said, "is a shadow drone." Jenkara leaned in. "What does it do?" "It listens," Reese said, "for lies, for traps, for war." She stared at it, confused. "It looks so small." He answered, "It doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be there before your weapon ever fires." Jenkara took a deep breath. "So, you're already fighting, all the time?" Reese nodded once. "Every day, but not with bombs, with information, with silence, with knowledge," she whispered. "This is a hidden war." He looked her in the eyes. "It's the only kind we fight now." That night, Jenkara sat in her quarters, staring at a message from the Xerillian Council. They wanted her to report Earth's weaknesses. They didn't want peace. They wanted control. She stared at their message for a long time before replying, "There are no weaknesses, only limits we don't understand." Outside, humans laughed, played music, shared food. But beneath that peace sat a world more prepared for war than any she had ever known, and it was winning a war that no one else could even see. Return to her people. Jenkara's ship left Earth in silence. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't wave. She only looked down at the blue planet one last time, wondering if she'd ever return. But deep in her heart, she knew. Earth wasn't a place to return to. It was a line you never crossed twice. As her ship broke through the last layer of atmosphere, she sat alone in her private chamber. The stars stretched around her, cold, empty. But Earth still burned in her, thoughts like fire. She opened her datapad. Her final report was due. The Xerillian High Council had been waiting, impatient, proud, hungry. They didn't want honesty. They wanted permission to challenge humanity. She stared at the blinking message from her superiors. "Did you find a weakness?" She began to type. "No, I found a warning. Earth does not grow loud. It grows silent. Its weapons are hidden. Its strength is deep. If provoked, they will not fight. They will end." She paused. Then she added, "They avoid, or not out of fear, but because they would win too easily." When she landed on Xerillia, the skies were red with sunset. Her ship touched down on a golden platform, surrounded by guards in ceremonial armor. The High Council waited inside a marble tower sitting on floating chairs shaped like stars. Jenkara bowed low as she entered, her face calm, but her stomach twisted. The Grand Elder leaned forward. "Ambassador, tell us, are the humans as weak as they pretend?" Jenkara met his eyes without fear. "No," she said clearly. "They are not weak. They are just tired of war." The council chamber fell into silence, then laughter erupted. The war minister waved a hand. "Tired of war? Good. That means they won't resist." Jenkara stepped forward. "You misunderstand. They're not tired because they lost. They're tired because they won too much." A younger counselor scoffed. "Words. What do they have? Guns? Shields?" Jenkara shook her head. "No, they have something worse." "What?" She looked each counselor in the eye. "A reason." The council's mood turned cold. The Grand Elder narrowed his gaze. "So you fear them?" Jenkara didn't blink. "Yes, and so should you." He leaned back. "That's disappointing. We were planning a demonstration, a small fleet near their moon, just to test their defense." Jenkara stepped forward. "Then you are making a mistake." The room darkened. She raised a small crystal device. It projected a simple message, a copy of the one Earth had used before. "This is your only warning." The counselors grew silent. The war minister stood, frowning. "You let them into your mind." "No," she replied. "They didn't need to. I saw what they wanted me to see, and that was enough." The Grand Elder stared at her for a long time, then said, "Leave us. We will decide." Jenkara bowed. "As you wish." But she knew they wouldn't listen. Empires never listen until it's too late. Back in her private quarters, she looked up at the night sky. A servant entered. "Would you like the Earth star filtered from your view, my lady?" She shook her head. "No. Let it stay. Let me remember where silence lives." The first shot, they didn't listen. Jenkara's warning was read, reviewed, and then buried. The Xerillian High Council labeled it emotional bias. They said the human diplomat had shaken her nerves. They said Earth was bluffing, and so they launched a fleet. 5 ships, 1 stealth carrier. No weapons armed, just surveillance, they claimed. A soft tap at the door, the war minister had said. But Earth did not believe in soft warnings. Jenkara stood in the observation hall as the fleet vanished into hyperspace. She felt cold, not fear, but grief. She had seen what Earth's silence meant. Now her people were going to learn it too, the hard way. 12 hours passed. The council gathered in the star chamber, confident and proud. Live feeds showed the fleet exiting hyperspace, just outside Earth's moon. Ships moved silently into formation. Drones launched. Then, nothing. No alarms, no missiles, no Earth response. For 6 minutes, the fleet floated in orbit like ghosts. "Strange," whispered a tech advisor. "There's no activity, not even a scan from Earth." Jenkara stared at the screen. Her hand trembled. "They already saw them," she said quietly. The war minister laughed. "Bah! If they were going to react, they would have done it already." But then, on every screen, a message appeared. Black background, white text, no sound. "This was your only warning." Everyone froze. Then the signals went dark. No transmission, no sensor data, no fleet. Jenkara stood slowly. "It's over," she said. The council looked at her, confused. "What do you mean, over?" the Grand Elder snapped. She didn't answer. She only turned and walked toward the exit. Behind her, voices rose in panic. "Check the feeds. Send backup ships. Trace anything. Anything." But no answer came. The Xerillian fleet didn't retreat. It didn't fight. It simply disappeared. Back in her private chamber, Jenkara recorded one last message. It was not for her people. It was for the stars. To any species listening, this is a warning. Do not go to Earth. Do not test them. They do not scream. They do not threaten. They simply remove you. She paused, then added, "Earth is not a death world. Earth is a decision." Somewhere far beyond the Xerillian Empire, other species received the news. They saw the silence. They saw the vanishing fleet, and they erased Earth from their war maps. Without ever firing a single shot, humanity had spoken, and the galaxy listened. On Earth, Colonel Reese looked out over the sunset sky. A young officer approached him. "The alien fleet?" Reese nodded once. "Handled." The officer hesitated. "No wreckage, no signal." "Did we?" Reese raised a hand. "We warned them." Then he walked away. Jenkara never returned to politics. She lived on a quiet moon, far from the Empire. She never spoke of Earth again. But every night she would sit under the star and keep one corner of the sky clear in her telescope, just to remember, just in case.